I wanted to make this video to remind myself how to do some of the tricks that I've been up to. So I'm building a stock trading app. Basically what I want people to be able to do is to put in a stock symbol and either buy or sell with some fake money. So we're not actually making trades, we're just doing some quotes. And I do that using a webhook that allows me to get live quotes of various stocks. So first the data. So I'm using an appsheet database rather than a spreadsheet just to see how that works. I've got a users table that really just has an email in it. So I've got some logic to sort of check to see if this exists, and if it doesn't, show you a login page, and if it does, it just logs you in. And then I've got trades that has the stock, the price that it has to look up, whether you're buying or selling, how much you want, who's doing it, the timestamp, and then this column that I'm checking to see if the stock doesn't exist, and if it doesn't, it sets this to 0. Then, I'm not sure this is the best way to do it. I do have a virtual column on trades that lets me figure out how much money you have, but I also wanted to know the inventory. So how many UUUU stocks do I have, and how many AAPL stocks do I have? So I decided to make a separate table with a reference column here. I call it email, but actually this is an ID. So when you use these databases, it's actually using IDs all the time, and it's just using the label to display it. So I found I have to be careful with that. Okay, so let's see. So in the, let me start with the users. I set it up to grab the user email. And then I've got related trades, I've got funds available, and related inventories. The related trades and related inventories, which of course looks funny the way it pluralized that, AppSheet just made. For the funds available, what I did was everybody starts with $10,000, and it adds the sum of, well, it grabs the related trades and it grabs the change. So I have to show you what change looks like. So a trade has a change column, a virtual column, that is just that row. It's the amount times the price, and if it's buy, -1, if it's sell, +1, right? You're either making money or you're losing money. And then for the user ID here in the trades, I do this slice trick. So there's a user slice, current user, and it's just, hey, grab anybody from the users column that matches the current user email. What you're able to do with that then is to say, oops, where do I want to be? Myself all confused. Here, the user ID is just gonna, hey, just grab whoever if there's a current user row, just grab the first one, the row ID of it. And so just grabs the first one, and that way it's putting in the right thing. Because if you put user email here, I don't think it actually works. You actually have to grab the row ID, which is how the AppSheet databases work. Okay. Anything else weird in here? I don't think so. And then in inventory, it knows that email is a reference to the users column, and I don't have any special things in here. What do the views look like? So really, I was intending people to just go to the me column. It shows you your recent trades. I don't know why it doesn't show all of them. There's some reason why this is limited to 5. There must be some simple fix there, because there's actually 17 of them. You can view them all, and then you can see them all. So I guess it's just like a representative sample. And then inventories, I only have 2 things owned. I own 7 APL and 9 UUUUs. So that seems to work fine. And it tells me what my funds available are. So I've spent a lot of money, and that's how much I have left. And I think, yeah. So then how do I get the price? So when I hit add, I put in a stock. So let me buy some more APL. And I'm going to buy this price. I want to hide because no one should enter it. It gets set later. So I think I'm just going to hide that. I'm going to buy some more APL. I'm going to buy just 1 more. Before I do, let's take a look at where it thinks I am. It thinks I have 7. Okay, remember that. It thinks I have 7. So I'm going to hit buy 1, please. Save. We wait for it to be done. And now I'm curious. Yep, it now knows that I own 8. So that worked. And if I look at the trades, you can see what the most recent price was. It was 178.19, which is what Apple's been at all day. But some time ago, it's changed. So this was literally a live quote that I just checked. How do I do that? So I have this automation, and for every new trade, so if there's an add to a trade, I don't think I have any other filters on there. First thing I do is I get the price. So this is calling a webhook, and my magical ID is in here, so I'm not going to click in here for you to see it, but you can just barely see that I say symbol equals whatever the stock that the user did. And you have to use the get verb. And then what gets returned is a whole bunch of things. I'm actually only grabbing what it calls C, so this is FinHub. The JSON that it returns has a variable called C, and that's the price. There's actually some other stuff that it returns, but just I'm going to use that. So then get price.c is going to be the price. So once I get it, I come down to here and I check to see if it exists. And basically, if that equals 0, it means it didn't exist. So basically, FinHub doesn't give you an error. It just returns a bunch of zeros and nulls. So I just grab, since C is the only thing I'm grabbing. So if it's equal to 0, it means it doesn't exist. So yes means it doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, then I want to update the amount to 0 and comment. And so I come in here and I say, oh, well, run data. So set row values. So this current row, please set the comment to, hey, it doesn't exist, and set the amount to 0. And then it's done. If the stock does exist, which means no, I know this is a weird thing here, I set the price in that row. So set the price to get price C. And then I need to update the inventory. Well, this might be the first stock that I've purchased. So I need to check to see if select from all of the inventories where the email is this row's user ID and the stock is this row's stock. I really, really, really thought I could use the related inventory here, but I cannot figure out how to get related inventories to work right here. So if anybody knows how to get related inventories to work right here, it seems amazing. It seems like I could just write this so much cleaner. Basically, I would say if is blank, filter related inventories where the stock is this row stock. But anyways, this select works okay, and of course it says it might impact my performance. So that's how I check. Then if it doesn't exist, just add a new row to inventory. So add a new row, set the stock to the stock, set owned to if buy or sell. So it's I guess you would never sell if you didn't own it in the first place. So it's always going to be buy. So it's just going to set it to be the amount. And set the email to the user ID. Very, very important. So that was fine. The hard one was this next one, updating the inventory row. So how do you update the inventory row? So I actually had to run 2 actions to do this. So first I run a data action. It says this. Data to inventory to change. Oh, I guess this is send data inventory to change. Yeah, okay, so I made an action called send data to inventory to change. So run action on rows on the inventory table. I do the same exact select here, so grab that row. So we now already know that this exists, so we're going to grab it. This is actually going to return several, but whatever. In principle, it could return several, but I know there's only one. So it's going to grab one. And then for that one, it's going to update the inventory step 2. So this is the action that I had to make. And that action, I'll come back to this. That action, step 2 action here, runs on the inventory table. So when you're on this table, set the values of the columns. So I'm about to give it what could be a bunch of columns, but it's really just one because I know there's only one. And I set the owned to this magical thing. Of course, what it was, owned, plus an input. I thought inputs were just things that popped up, but when you use them in an automation, it does this really cool thing. So input, let's call it something called change and have its default be 0. How does that get used? Well, over here in the automation, it gets used here. Because you're running an action that has an input, it says, oh, I see you've got some inputs. What do you want to use with those inputs? I say, well, the change is this. If it's buy, do this. If it's sell, do that. And this all works. It all works. And so you can sort of see in the stock trades, It knows that I have 8 AAPLs and 9 UUUs. If I do another, let's see here, let's go to use, sorry, use, let's just go here to add. We're gonna do, let's do a brand new one. Microsoft, is that what it is? Can't remember. Let's find out what Microsoft is. Microsoft symbol stock. It is MSFT. 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 Okay, I think it's MSFT. I don't think that the case matters. MSFT. But let's try it. Let's buy one because they're expensive, and let's hit save. Goes for a while, and suddenly I've bought it, and then the price was $326.31, and so now if I go to me, I now own 3 stocks, one of which is Microsoft, and there's one of them. So that all works. The only thing that's left is that you should only be able to sell things if you own them. So I need to do a check on that, and you should only be able to buy things if you have enough money. So there's just a couple of checks I need to add.